Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Smith. I'm here with my co host, Kerri Bemis.
Hello.
And we're here for a new episode of One Last Question, episode 8. And with us is our guest, Vaughn Wesley. He is a fellow stand up comedian, and he agreed to do our show. And we are recording a new episode, just people hanging out and having a good time.
Yeah,
Hello, guys.
Vaughn, thank you so much. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's fine. It's nice to be here. What episode
Hi,
is
I'm
this?
glad.
This is episode 8.
Yeah.
We live in the best neighborhood ever, which is why you can hear sirens outside our window. They're going to where the crime is, which is
Look, for one
very
second,
far
Vaughn,
away.
Jason, they're not here for you.
They're not here for me. That's true.
I take it you guys live in Akron?
We do not. We live in Bedford, Ohio, which is near Cleveland. It's better than Maple Heights and Garfield, but not as good as like Macedonia.
Yeah, I live out in a wooded area. I live in Braceville. You can see the trees and whatnot back there.
I can.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So I live out in the country. I don't live in a town at all. I pretty much live out in the country.
That's wild.
So when you go to Funny Stop to do comedy, like how long of a drive is that for you?
It's 49 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I went to me and Kerri both went to Crackpots for me to do comedy last night, and it's the same distance. It's just under an hour. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was at LVT Wednesday night because my acting class ended at 8, so I was like, well, since I'm out here and I don't have any other things to do, I might as well get some stage time at LVT. So I went there, and yeah, like by the time I left, there was much more of a crowd, more like people showing up and whatnot, because you have East End Bistro down the road, which is Bill Squire's other open mic he does on during the week. So yeah, you used to have people coming from there.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't even aware about any of that.
Oh, I'm surprised. And you've been around for like a year.
Yeah, I know. Life sometimes gets complicated, and different people ask different things of you, and your focus can't just be on like, this is my thing and this is my focus, because it's also family and it's friends and it's children and so yeah, but
you're also not a big Bill Squire person either, so I mean, you wouldn't know where he performs.
right,
Well,
I'm here, but it's okay.
Well, he runs 2 open mics. He runs High and Dry. I don't know if you've been there before, Jason.
I haven't.
So yeah, he runs that open mic. It's on Thursday nights, starts at 8. And then he runs East End Bistro on Wednesdays, which starts at 8:30. And he's a local guy. He's Cleveland famous. He's on the radio.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Monday through Fridays typically, and whatnot. So he's around. Mary's not so much around anymore. She's always been traveling. She's been much more different than him, because usually on the weekends she'll be like out of town doing stuff. And I think she lives in New York City now, so she usually.
Really?
I heard that on the because I listen to Rovers. Okay, so this week I'm on vacation. I haven't listened to anything, but typically at work I listen to Rovers in the morning, and then I catch some of the Alan Cox show driving home. But yeah, I did hear that Mary was now living in New York because she is successful enough in this scene that now she needs like a bigger market to move on. And of course, I know who Bill Squire is, and he is he is very well known in the Akron Cleveland area as a stand-up guy, has a lot of fans, and he's on the radio, which can only help your notoriety.
Yeah, I remember because I started driving. I got my license in June 20th, 2016, and I was 18. I got held back in kindergarten, so when I graduated high school, I was 19.
Okay.
Well, when I got my license, that was 8 years ago now. 7 years for graduation. But I remember one time I was driving to school. It was my senior year, driving to school in the morning, and I remember on Rover they mentioned that somebody on Alan Cox, on Alan Cox show got arrested for drunk driving. Turned out it was Bill.
Yep.
And yeah, there is a mugshot of him somewhere. I forget where, but I have seen his mugshot.
Oh, that's so weird that you bring that up because he used to go on with Alan Cox used to go on with Chad Zumach, who was another stand-up guy. And the story I heard, so take it for what it's worth, but that he got a DUI and then he lost his job at the radio station because of it.
Right.
So I never knew.
I think it was for his DUI. I think it was something much more crazy than what Bill did and whatnot, because, Chad Zumach, I mean, I've met Chad and whatnot, and he was all right, but, from what other people have shown and whatnot, he's wild, let's just say.
A little bit of a live wire, a little bit out there.
He's something, let's just say. I know in the beginning when Brett Thomas was starting out and whatnot, he met Chad, like I think at Funny Stop or something like that, and Chad's like, "Oh, you're funny, you should come on the road with me." So Brett decided to ask Bill about this, and Bill's like, he's like, "Don't do that, and whatnot." And and then Brett came over or something. He's like, maybe I shouldn't have said that to Bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah. But yeah, I've met Chad before. First time I saw him was on at Water Street Tavern when they were doing that. When Anthony was having a show there, it was in the basement. It was Thanksgiving week of 2019. That's when I first saw him. And then the other times I saw him after that was at Funny Stop when he headlined there twice. And 1 year he did one regular headlining show, and then he did a special New Year's headlining show.
And what do you think of him? Like, was he nice to you? Was he like a normal dude, or?
Yeah, he was nice. Material wise, he was more bitchy than actual jokes. It was just kind of going on and on and on, and there was no really actual jokes. And Ray DeVito used to be friends with him. They're no longer friends anymore. But Ray asked me, he's like, what did Chad do? Did he do actual jokes, or was he just going on and on and on? And I'm like, yeah, he did the latter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You guys, I know. Look, we're talking about Alan Cox. We're talking, right? I want to know about you, Vaughn, for a second. So, look, I know we introduced you as a fellow comedian, but on your Facebook page, and I've seen you, it says actor, writer, right? And you do that film. You put a clip of it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that. I think I even messaged you or replied and said, this is really good,
yeah.
And I remember that, Jason?
Yeah, I do.
I would how did that happen? I'd really love to know how that happened, because whatever character you're playing, you fucking nailed it. Sorry for the F. You nailed it. Seriously.
So how that came to be was through my acting class. So my acting teacher, we would do some demo clips and whatnot. You can, sign up to do a demo clip. She used to do them every month, but with her teaching online and whatnot and all this other stuff, she didn't have time to do them every month. So she would do them like every, I don't know, maybe like 3-4 months or something like that. And they're not cheap to do. You have, if you like want to do one, like if you want to do like at least one, it's like $220. So
One entry
Wow.
class?
oh yeah, for a demo clip and yeah, for a demo clip and whatnot, which makes sense because you have all this, like, if you what you guys seen the videos, they're very well done, like just the way it looks and
Yeah.
whatnot. So yeah, it costs a lot of money to get all that done. But yeah, I just the first one I did was more like, it wasn't the kidnapping one. It was and I posted that one as well. Just the kidnapping one got more more of a reaction. And
Yeah.
Sure.
because people tend to have what is called a negativity bias, in which things that are more like dark or disturbing and whatnot, people tend to pay attention that more than something that's like more innocent.
Yeah.
And so forth. So that's what my rationalization for that was, why I got more attention. But yeah, I did this brother and sister thing, in which I wanted the girl that played my sister in it to essentially hack into my college's website to change my grades and whatnot because I was failing something, and that went well. I quite enjoyed that, and then and that was May of last year that happened. I got that done. And then the second demo clip I got done was in August. And I had a very nice lady, Elizabeth was her name, that I did it with, the one that, was my victim in the video.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one went faster than the first one. They Jessica and the sound guy and the camera guy really enjoyed what I was kind of going for and whatnot, and we didn't really have to do too many retakes. And I know during the filming of it, they suggested to me to basically kind of like touch her, like kind of caress her hair. That was not in the script at all. They just suggested that. I'm like, all right, sure. I was a little bit like kind of a little uncomfortable doing it because I'm not a kidnapper and a psycho and whatnot. But I'm like, well,
So you say.
I gotta play a part here, so I
Right.
have to do this.
And I think by you doing that, because you said you were uncomfortable, it showed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was good. Like, I was very impressed. Who the fuck am I? But I was very impressed by it. I don't know. It was good. It was good. It really was. So, out of all those things, like, what is it that you want to be? Like, comedian, writer, actor. Like, what is it that what's the end goal? What is it that you really want to be known as? Or if anything,
I just want to, have consistent work with all that stuff. I mean, I don't want to be, I mean, most people that are in the, that kind of industry, like for comedy and acting and whatnot, most of them you've never heard of. Like, it's really like the 1% that are like kind of A-list celebrities and they're like millionaires and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, there's over like thousands of actors, and like really like a very tiny portion of them you actually know who they are. But there's people that find they're able to find work and whatnot within the field. I mean, matter of fact, there was this one guy that went to my acting school. I can't think of his name right now, but he's an Asian guy. He never really wanted to be an actor. He never really he didn't take drama and whatnot when he was in school and all that stuff. He was just bored because he was doing tech jobs and whatnot for like behind a cubicle and whatnot, and he was just walking, and he usually after work he would just go to the bar drinking with friends and whatnot. And one time he just came across and he saw Hood's School of Acting. He's like, yeah, let me try this out, and now he's a professional actor.
Wow.
And he first time he and this happened when he was 27. I think he's in his either late 30s or early 40s now, but yeah, that was back in the late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, something like that. So yeah, he's early mid 40s.
It does happen like that for people. I know Jason Statham was just a guy hawking goods on a street corner, and Guy Ritchie happened to walk by him, and his pitch was so good. He's like, "Who are you?" Well, like, "What's your story?"
Yeah,
And then he got cast in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and then it just went on from there. He just kept getting more gigs, and just he had this whole, like, he never did anything to try to be an action hero, an actor, any of that. It just happened. It
yeah,
just like organically happened, and now he's wealthy and successful and famous. So it's kind of weird how sometimes what people are looking for, they don't always get, and other people aren't looking for it at all, and they get the same thing. So life is there's order, but there's a lot of chaos too.
Life finds a way.
Right? Yeah, life finds a way. Yeah.
Yeah, from Jurassic Park. Yeah, matter of fact, the Asian guy I was talking about, he has a YouTube channel, and he has that quote in the background on a wall or something. But yeah, he's appeared in Cobra Kai. He's
okay. That's cool.
Yeah, the one Asian guy on the board, because they have for the tournament and whatnot for
give it a thumbs up. That's so funny. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I saw the thumbs up.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
Cute.
I guess.
I don't know. You can do something like this, and a heart will appear. It's really cute. Go ahead.
Cool.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all good. But yeah, he appeared in Cobra Kai. Because like they've done it like twice already, in which they had like a big tournament, and they had like the board, and he's like the only Asian guy on the board, so he's easy to pick out from everyone. But yeah, he was in Cobra Kai. He was in what was it? One Marvel movie. Played like a police officer in there.
Okay.
It's a Black Widow. I think it was in the Black Widow movie he was in and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh yeah, but you gotta find what you gotta find for gigs and whatnot. I mean, really, by this point, like superhero movies are kind of, it's not that interesting like it was like 10 years ago.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's run its course basically.
They've exhausted a lot of the source material. The stuff I read when I was like 14. I was reading the Infinity Gauntlet comic books when I was 14. And I really enjoyed those movies. I thought it was very cool that they took that storyline and threw like billions of dollars at it to make it like a movie, and they did it right, and they hired like good actors, and the effects were like on point. I thought that was awesome. But at a certain point, the whatever genre it is gets a little saturated by its own success, and people are less intrigued by that idea only from they've seen it like ad nauseum,
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Infinity War. I haven't seen Endgame, but even since I haven't even seen Endgame, I agree with a lot of people. They should just ended the cinematic universe at Endgame, because after that, it was just like, it's like, where do we go from here?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Galactus, but not a lot of people know who Galactus is. I mean, they could try to make something out of it, but I don't know. It's I think they should have just ended it at Endgame and just, tried something new. But, big corporations, they like to keep milking the
right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they this idea or this project made money. They don't think, okay, let's do something different. They think we can replicate the reason that was successful, so let's do it again and make more money. Sometimes it's a weird synergy between accountants and the money men and creative people. So the accountants kind of buy in first and listen to the creative people when they go, I got this great idea, it's going to be great, and they're skeptical, but they put up the money, and then it is great and makes a lot of money, and then I think the creative people go, all right, so we'll do something else, and they're like, no, you don't understand, like you don't understand how much money we made. We're just going to do this. There was 3 Hangovers, and it was the same movie all 3 times. And all of them made money. So it's kind of crazy when you look at it from like a creative versus like accounting issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was like after a while, because like in the 2010s, or I think it was by like 2014, 2015, with like all those, comedy Adam Sandler movies, it was like, all right, I think we're kind of done here with Adam Sandler comedies.
Right.
I mean, I prefer Adam Sandler more as a drama actor than a comedy. I think he does better.
Really?
Yeah, I think he does better with drama than comedy. I really liked Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems was
a good movie. That was good.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, but I haven't seen it yet. I have to watch it. It looks really good.
Yeah, it just seems like with Adam Sandler comedy movies, particularly comedy movies that are done by his production company and him himself, it seems like he tries too hard.
I agree.
And it just falls flat, basically.
Well, I think his if he had a problem, which he doesn't because he's wealthy and successful.
Yeah.
But if he had a problem, it was the Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Waterboy type of like goofy type of comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those were good.
Those are good, but I think he stopped wanting to do goofy comedy. So I think then he goes, and Jim Carrey, same thing. He's just kind of went, no, I can't just make people laugh. I can be dramatic. I can make them feel other feelings than just humor.
Yeah.
However, it's like a double-edged sword. It's why the Police broke up and then Sting had a solo career. The Beatles broke up and McCartney and Lennon had solo careers, because eventually you need to progress from what you're doing and do something. You have to.
Yeah.
Right.
Even art matures from the person that's creating it. They mature, so then the art matures, and then it's something different.
Yeah. Let me turn my light here, because it's getting very dark, and like you can see really like lighting on my one side of the face and just darkness on the other side.
Right.
Turn on my light here.
You're just trying to be mysterious.
There we go.
Can I ask you a question before we get in the weeds?
Sure.
I'm very intrigued. Okay, I'm 47, 48, 47. I'll be 48 in August, right, Jason?
Yes.
Okay. And the woman, okay, I know, I'm sorry, but I got to go back to it. The woman that you were acting with, that you kidnapped, okay?
Yeah.
She was an older woman.
Yeah.
And Jason and I, we always talk about you see older actors, and it's like their whole lives they're still doing it. They're 50, they're 60, they're 70, right? Yeah. They're still doing it. And I found it so awesome and good for you. She took this role, she still did it. She's still trying, right? It's so good. Yeah. Did you know her?
It was my first time meeting her.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did she get the role? Do you know?
It was just through I think she is a student at my school, and I think she went mostly online though for classes, and she just wanted to do a demo reel and whatnot. And when you do the demo reels, you can pick which one you want, which role, and then based off of that, Jessica, the owner of the acting school, she'll have people that she knows that are involved with the school to write scripts and whatnot, based upon the personalities of the people
Yeah.
that are in that role. I mean, not entirely accurate personalities, but something that would be more fitting for that person and what
Well,
have you.
Well,
yeah.
it's easier if you're playing a character that isn't that far from who you are.
And
It's like that gap is smaller. Like Chris Farley when he was doing Tommy Boy, his parents were successful. They did have a business. He did grow up in just a normal town, just somewhere, So when they cast him as that guy, your parents own this business. It's in Cuyahoga Falls, just like a normal town. It's not this huge city or whatever. He was able to, identify with that character a lot. So therefore, it was easier for him to be that character.
yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Or with
Yeah,
Kevin
but
Spacey playing villains all the time.
well, whoever got you two together, like the acting coach, you said her name was Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica
Very
Hood
talented. I'd love to talk to her. Like, I don't know, maybe whatever. I don't care, but like, it was good. It was really good.
Oh yeah, and she's
Your dynamic together, both of you, was good. Like, you sold it.
Oh,
And
thank you.
no, you did, and so did she. Like, it was good. I just thought it was really cool, man. Like, she's an older woman, and she's still fucking trying, right? Like,
Yeah.
I love that. I even love to talk to her. That's awesome.
Yeah, Jessica, she's quite interesting because she went out to L.A. when she was 19. She's 20 years older than me, so she was born in 78. So she went out to L.A. in 99, and she studied Meisner at Playhouse Square with Robert Carnegie, who Robert Carnegie,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and Robert Carnegie, her acting teacher, he studied under the man himself, Meisner, and through that she she had some struggles and whatnot, and in some of the roles that she was getting, she it was like for some reason she always wondered like, why am I always getting these prostitute roles? Why am I getting these and whatnot? And she was like frustrated with that, and
right.
But through that, she met some really cool people. Jeff Goldblum, she knows Jeff Goldblum.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, she knows him. Around the time when she was going to Playhouse Square, another fellow student was what's his name? I don't know why I forgot his name. He's he's James Franco.
Okay.
Yeah, James Franco. She went to. Yeah, she knows James Franco. She went to. She was in the same acting classes as him at Playhouse Square. She studied with him and whatnot, and he and she mentioned a story how whenever she would see him, he would always smell, and and whatnot, and eventually she ended up asking him like what she's like, why do you always smell, James? And he's like Jess, it's like I'm a struggling actor. I don't have time to shower. I need to get my gigs.
My focus is I'm gonna be an actor. Yeah, that's really cool. So that one, before I forget, how can people find that little short film that you did? Is it a short film? I want to not give it justice, but how can they find that?
Just through my Facebook. I have it unlisted on my YouTube. I just have it on private because somebody mentioned like, for demo reels, if you want to send them out to agencies and whatnot, just have them unlisted on your YouTube page, and you can just send them to people. But I also thought like after I did that, I'm like, I could have gotten more views on that video on YouTube and whatnot. I'm like, I could have boosted that, but it is what it is. So
it's on your Facebook?
Oh yeah, you can just go through my Facebook and.
Do you recall what month you posted it? Because people can scroll.
It was this year, of course. And It had to be in
At least
March or
2.
April.
Yeah, right. At least
March
2
or
months.
April. Because what happened there was that the reason why I didn't get it posted last year, because those videos take I don't know, like about maybe a month or so to kind of get together and all that. So I ended up already seeing them like prior to getting them again. What happened was that I thought I had them on my iPad, which I'm talking to you guys on right now. I originally thought I had them saved on my iPad. It turns out that I didn't do that properly, and Jessica over at Hood, she with the demo reels and whatnot, because they don't have a lot of space over there for the hard drives. So usually, once a year is up, they would delete the demo clips, and when I realized that I didn't have them actually saved, I was like, oh boy. I'm like, oh, let me get in touch with Jessica here and ask about that. And sure enough, thankfully they found them. They found both of the demo clips, and I got them all together and processed, and they're all saved up.
Yeah, well,
it impressed me. I really
yeah. Thank God that you got them and they weren't just lost, because
Yeah. That would be a waste of money and waste of just time of doing that then.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if nothing else, you still would have had the experience of doing it, and you would have never lost that. But it is nice to have the digital output of your efforts. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess like I said, it impressed me. So like I guess if you reach one person, I was very impressed by it. And I'll stop talking about it right now, but I was very impressed by it. It was very natural. It just looked really good. I thought so.
Yeah, because like the first video that was released of it was just me and the girl that played my sister. I would say that was like more like closer to who I am than the other one. But the other one with the whole kidnapping one, because I was thinking, I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I thought, I'm like, well, since my character is creepy and whatnot, I'm going to lower down my voice. I don't know if you noticed that, but like I lowered it down because I usually talk louder, but I purposely lowered my voice.
Yes.
And that came from a character that I there's a series I like. It's an anime series, and it's also a manga. It originally came from a manga, and then they adapted into anime. But the main villain of it has like a very feminine voice, and he has a very like kind of lower, how he speaks. It's very low. So I was like, oh, I really like this villain and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm going to try that and see if that'll work. And they liked it. They liked my how I went about it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot you can do. Like I remember they tried Star Trek and it didn't get picked up as a pilot, and then they tried it again, and then it did get picked up. But I remember Leonard Nimoy, if you've watched the documentary I Am Spock, in the first pilot run, there's like this big bad monster on the view screen, and like everybody's like, oh my God, like it's a big bad monster. But like the writer wrote Spock's line as fascinating. So there was no fear. He was intrigued by a different form of life and whatnot. But it's just interesting because you can use the words to express things, but ultimately the character not only makes it believable, but can put a spin on those words and can make the audience hear them in a different way. So there's a million different ways to say hello to someone, and when you're reading lines from a script, there's a million different ways to read those lines depending on what you're trying to get across. So it's It's like there's a million ways to make someone laugh when you're on stage. It's
Yeah.
very much, it's very much different how you're going to go about it. And even though the result might be the same for 10 different people, that all 10 people go about it differently.
Yeah.
So it's art. So it's
Oh, yeah.
Right.
it's fascinating in its own right.
Yeah, just the way you go about it and what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the most interesting portrayals I've ever seen for a villain is as I've gotten older, I've been more attracted to the villains more than the heroes. So my personal two favorite superheroes is Batman and Superman.
Me
Those
too.
are my two favorites, what have you. And I've had this discussion with two other people, but it seems like Gotham and Metropolis are just like right next to each other. Because I feel like they're right next to each other, and a lot of people also like, yeah, they're like right next to each other. Just Gotham's like the hood, and then Metropolis is just the suburbs, essentially.
Yeah, it's like Metropolis is New York City, and Gotham's like Baltimore. Like they're not that far away.
I think they're more both New York City.
Oh, okay.
Just Metropolis is in the nicer part of New York City.
Okay.
Gotham, not so much.
Right.
Like Gotham is like very underdeveloped, and everything looks like it's from the 40s or 50s, and then it's like run by old timey gangsters, and then Metropolis is like billionaires and millionaires running and whatnot, and like it's the suburbs and the ghetto essentially, as I like to put it.
Yeah, it's true. They still have like Tommy guns and stuff in the movie. Was the question? Did you say like who was your favorite like villain and not villain?
Oh yeah, sorry,
you said Batman and.
Oh yeah, for heroes, Batman and Superman. Yeah, I kind of got sidetracked there because I started going on about that stuff. But yeah, I was about to go on before I started talking about superhero stuff. There, one of my favorite villain portrayals was from No Country for Old Men. For Anton Chigurh.
Yeah, Javier Bardem. He was awesome.
Oh yeah, he well, the interesting thing about that movie is that I have it on Blu-ray over there in my DVD cabinet. But interesting thing about that was that during filming of that, he barely knew any English. He didn't know English at all, and yeah, he's Spanish. He's from Spain and whatnot. He's a Spanish actor, and when they were filming that, he barely knew English at all, and he just pretty much just memorized things he learned in English to do the role and what have you.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Anton Chigurh character really is. He doesn't really have much of emotion at all. He doesn't really show any emotion. So it's more easier for him to kind of go about it. Like the only times he really shows emotion are two scenes. The one is when he's like, in that struggle and also having a fun time, like strangling that cop with the cuffs.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie. Like, honestly, it shows like rage, but also like enjoyment. He's doing this.
Yeah.
And the other time he shows actual like emotion was when he was talking to Woody Harrelson's character, and he was enjoying like basically being like the dominant one there and like taunting him before he would eventually kill him and whatnot. So those were really the only two moments in the movie in which he actually showed enjoyment. And also he's a very interesting character in himself because you don't know anything about him at all. Like nothing's really revealed about him or not. He's just he's just hired to do a job, which was to get that money for that company. And then
you find more about him from Woody Harrelson. He's a psychopathic killer, but so what? And then you find that his sense of fairness is, I'll give you 50-50 chance of you living, or I'm going to kill you. Like, so it's not like you have no chance. You 50-50. That's what you're going to get. But it was like the opposite of a horror movie where there's this like Like he wasn't even. He's someone that'll kill you, but it was just like that's just what he felt.
Yeah.
That was in the cards for you. It wasn't like there was no like rage or hate or like maliciousness. It's just that's who I am.
But there's a YouTuber named he's called sorry for interrupting you there, Kerri.
No, you didn't. You're good.
Well, that's good. There's a YouTuber named The Vile Eye, and he does these videos called Analyzing Evil, and it's of whatever character. And he did one of Anton Chigurh, and he mentioned how Anton Chigurh, the reason why he goes about these hitman jobs and whatnot is that he enjoys the hunt. He enjoys, going out and trying to do all these things, and and he's also a man of principle as well. Like, there's a scene towards the end of the movie in which, the guy that hires him, who's played, I can't think of the actor's name who plays the guy that hires him.
Right.
He voices Bill on King of the Hill, and he's also the stapler guy from Office Space.
With the glasses?
Yeah.
He was in Dodgeball. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he plays the guy. He plays the guy that hired Anton Chigurh to get this drug money.
He's like the suit. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, and then towards the end of the movie, because the process of getting the money was taking too long. The guy decided to hire a second party, a group of Mexican gang members to retrieve the money.
Right.
And Anton Chigurh did not like that at all.
Right.
And, if you recall, he goes to the office and he kills the guy.
Right.
He's a man of principle, and he states that he's like, if you're going to use a tool, you use one.
And you choose the right tool for the job. Right.
Yeah. Essentially, so that's why he kills his employer. But since he is a man of principle in the book, because No Country for Old Men is based off of a book by the late Cormac McCarthy. In the book, it shows this. It doesn't show in the movie, but in the book, it shows that Anton Chigurh did deliver the money to the company in the end that hired him.
Okay.
To achieve it. So he didn't oh, it's money for me now. No, he, I'm sure, much like in the book and the movie, he would just give it back to the company. He just, he's a man of principle, and he didn't think that was right of his employer to hire another party to achieve the money.
Right.
I never realized it was a book. I never realized that. I'm gonna check that out.
Oh yeah, the guy that wrote the book is really considered one of the best fiction authors of all time, particularly when it comes down to westerns. Cormac McCarthy is his name. No Country for Old Men is really one of his most well-known works, particularly because of the movie adaptation. Yeah. Another book of his that a lot of people want to be adapted, but really it's always been up in the air. This movie's going to be if this book's going to be adapted into a movie or not, because just the subject material and whatnot is Blood Meridian. It came out in 1985. It takes place in the 1870s, I believe, and it follows a character called the Kid, who basically leaves his abusive household in Tennessee and travels down south, and it takes place in the 1830s or 40s. It takes place during the Mexican-American War. It takes place around that time, so it's pre-Civil War. Mm-hmm. But he essentially, he ends up getting entailed with a gang of scalp hunters, and there's the villain of the story is pretty much, you could say, the worst villain of Cormac McCarthy's books. Not worse in the way of that he's an awful villain. No, it's just the worst. He's just his actions and whatnot he's done throughout the whole book. The character in question is a character named Judge Holden, who basically pretty much is a straight up psychopath, and he enjoys, he's a rapist, a murderer, a pedophile. He abuses animals.
He's the worst person ever. Worst person ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the book, at one point he ends up committing genocide against a group of American Indians and getting their scalps and what have you.
Yeah, he's
And
horrible.
his depiction in general is basically a gigantic guy that's like a little bit heavy set, but he's also bold and like hairless, and he's albino. And there's a lot of fan drawings of him and what he looks like. And there's another point in the book in which he essentially encourages these townspeople to kill their priest, and what have you. And many fans of the book of Blood Meridian suspect that Judge Holden is actually Satan. Just based upon how he's like, oh, because he's hairless, he has no hair, his skin is like very pale, like a snake, and he's very good playing the fiddle. He's a very good fiddle player, and the fiddle is often associated with Satan.
It is.
And at the ending of the book, because the main character, spoiler alert, the kid, he ends up getting killed by Judge Holden at the end of the book.
Okay.
And there's a scene in which Judge Holden is basically naked, and there's a group of people, dancing and whatnot, and he starts dancing naked while playing the fiddle. And
what's the name of the book again?
Blood Meridian.
Okay.
Some people think it's it's impossible to adapt into a movie because it's just very graphic. It's just a very violent book. Most of Cormac McCarthy stuff is very violent and just very dark and what have you. And it's also very let's say complex, the book as well. It doesn't really have a very simplistic narrative. It's very weird of how it's kind of done, but people think it's basically his best book.
Well, sometimes it's near impossible to translate a book to a movie, only from the fact that in a book you get to hear people's thoughts.
Yeah,
those thoughts are expressed, and you can't do that visually.
Yeah,
unless you're going to go Fred Savage, Wonder Years inner monologue. How can you really know what a character is thinking?
Yeah,
and
that's a good point. Yeah,
it's always been kind of hard to get that part to translate. Although in some cinema, they do a remarkable job of portraying. They can't project the thoughts, but sometimes they nail the feeling with just the way their faces and stuff.
Yeah.
So who knows? I hope Blood Meridian does become a movie. I'd love to see it. I've always loved No Country for Old Men. That's one of my favorite movies. It's really cool. There's a lot there. There's a lot of nuanced factors in those performances that I truly enjoy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. Just Judge Holden's way worse of a person than Anton Chigurh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like on because there's a website, a Webcopedia page called Villains Webcopedia, and Judge Holden has his own villains, and they always, for these Webcopedia pages for these villains, they always have a type of villain, and for him, he is labeled as a satanic nihilist.
Wow.
Yeah, and the most brutal thing he's ever said in the book, I haven't read the book, but I know this quote from him, and it's just a very straight up cruel quote. And also kind of helps the argument that he's Satan, essentially, which he ends up saying at one point in the book. He's like, whatever exists in creation without my knowledge exists without my consent.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I get it. No, I get it. And I can, before we even started this, I can get on a whole tangent about what that reminds me of. Marilyn Manson stuff. I can get a whole thing, right?
Did you ever read the Sandman series by Garth Ennis? It was graphic novels, and then they made the first part of it on Netflix.
I haven't seen the comic, but I've seen the Netflix series. I've seen
Yeah.
one. I'm just waiting whenever season 2 would come out.
Yeah. Garth Ennis, his brother too. Very talented, creative guys. When I was like your age, I worked in like a game store, comic book shop,
Yeah.
and I read Preacher. I read all the volumes of that. I read all of Sandman. I read all of. There was another one where it was like in the future, and the guy was like a reporter. But sometimes it's interesting to me just how much better, like sometimes a book is better than the movie. Well, the book's kind of always better, but also sometimes a graphic novel can be better than the movie, or it's just a different medium, and I think every medium holds a lot of value for the person digesting it and interpreting it. I always thought that graphic novels were really cool because it's you're digesting it at your own pace, and it's part of it's in your mind, part of it's on the page. A book, it's all in your mind. A movie, it's all on the screen. But it's kind of this. It's like half and half. You can see some of it, but some of it's still in your mind. Yeah. And I always thought it was cool. Like a book, you're going through it in a way that you can absorb things like as you want at your own pace. And that's really cool. It gives you like a sense of control over what's happening in a way.
Right. Yeah, I have some graphic novels over in my cabinet over there. I have really some of the more was considered some of the greatest because I don't go out of my way to collect just like any comic book.
Right.
I haven't bought any graphic novels in a while. I mean, I buy manga, which you could say are kind of like graphic novels. I mean, more like Japanese graphic novels, but they're they're not Western graphic novels. But anyway, I have Watchmen. I have the whole original Watchmen. I have
cool.
Batman. I have Batman Killing Joke.
Okay.
I have Batman Year One. I have Batman Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
I have Justice League Kingdom Come.
Jason, you dropped out, but keep going, Vaughn. Go ahead.
Oh, I know. I have Justice League Kingdom Come, and then the other one I have is V for Vendetta.
Really? When you said the Watchmen, like that was what I feel like it didn't, the movie made, you can disagree, I don't care. I don't feel like the movie did it justice. Like,
I liked the movie.
I liked it, but like, I don't know. It was just my opinion. It was just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel like it was so like dark, and it was dark and shit like that. But like, I don't know. You listen, when you read those things or you look at those things, you have one image, right? Because you're reading it, so you have an image. So it's hard when you put it on the big screen. Yeah,
it is.
And it doesn't like it get to your expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Oh, sorry. There.
No. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Well, one thing I thought they did really good for Watchmen for the movie, and I thought this was so bad in the comic. In the comic, when I read them, like, this happens? Like, yeah, I prefer what Zack Snyder did in the movie. Well, it's towards the end, in which, when Rorschach dies, and, Owlman's there, or whatever. I think it is Owlman, or whatever, but in the movie, Owlman's there, and he witnesses, oh fuck, what's his name? The blue guy. Can't think.
The blue guy, yeah, he splatters them to silence them because they finally got what they wanted. They're able to have this peace because everyone's afraid of the blue guy will just land on the earth, even though it wasn't his idea to begin with. But
it was Dr. Manhattan. Like, I like how I like how in the movie, Owlman was there to like witness Doctor Manhattan kill Rorschach, and
Right.
like it's kind of an iconic scene in which he explodes him, and then Owlman just falls on his knees and is like, "No!"
Right.
And the comic, it's just bad. It just does not make sense at all, and just makes Alan Moore look very horny. In which instead of Owlman following them outside, he just starts shagging up with Dr. Manhattan's fucking while Dr. Manhattan goes kill Rorschach. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't. It's like, that's weird. Right. It's like
not quite hero type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the people the Watchmen are not really good people to begin with.
No, it's more like what people have to do because the world sucks.
Yeah.
And like, Watchmen is essentially like, this is why superheroes are not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That's essentially what Watchmen is. It's like the idea of superheroes, it's cool in fiction, but in a real life scenario, it's not a good idea.
Right. Yeah. It's really just part of it has always been a parallel to like nuclear arms.
Yeah.
Like, if someone has this type of power, could it ever really work out for anyone's betterment?
And then you had a series like The Boys, which originally came out as a comic that pretty much they kind of pushed that idea further.
Right.
And much more fucked up. The show I know is fucked up. I haven't watched the show, but I know the comics are like pretty much a fucking edge fest. The Boys comic is an edge fest. Like the guy that wrote and draw The Boys, he hated superheroes. He hated superheroes, and The Boys was like spite against the idea of superheroes.
Yeah.
And like everybody in the comics and the Boys, they're either three things. They're either a racist or a bigot, a murderer, or a sexual deviant in some way. That's basically what they are. And there's nothing else. Like, it's like, that's all they are. And there's things in the comic that are just straight up, like, just fucking brutal. Like, in the show, you had, you have Homelander's son, Ryan, who, he's a character and whatnot. Well, in the comic, he's not a character at all. He's only alive for a little bit because essentially what happens is that Butcher and his wife, they're sleeping. And, give you a little backstory. So in the comic, and this plays out very similarly in the show, in which Homelander essentially rapes Butcher's wife.
Right.
And through the rape, he impregnates her with his kid.
Yeah.
Well, in the show, Ryan is born and whatnot, and he, Butcher raises him like a son, and Homelander also has a relationship with him and everything. Well, in the comic, it's much more brutal, and it turns out that Homelander didn't rape Butcher's wife. It was a clone of Homelander. I'll get into that in a second, but he rapes Butcher's wife, and through the rape he impregnates her, and because because they're mutants and whatnot, I guess the aging, like the growth process is much more faster. So they're sleeping one night, and then Homelander's clone's kid bursts out of Butcher's wife's stomach, out of her womb, and it's like, and just flying everywhere, like, laser eyes and old blood covering, and then umbilical cords still attached. And
they did give a nod to that in the last episode of The Boys, where they said that's how Homelander was born. They kind of used that the same imagery,
And Butcher ends up having to kill clone Homelander's kid and whatnot. And then, later on, the big twist in The Boys comic, it turns out that because Homelander thought he was going insane, because he ends up coming across these photos of him committing these crimes, these just horrific crimes that he doesn't even remember committing. There's photos of him eating babies, just devouring babies. and then him just like murdering people. And then, there's a photo of him. Basically, there's this woman, and I guess he like put a hole in her head, and he just kind of fucking her head and whatnot, which the actual Homelander really does. But it turns out, yeah, I know, it's very fucked up. And they actually drew these, like, all these photos of him, like, what he was doing. I know, it's just really just ridiculously messed up. But it turns out in the final act, it turns out when a Butcher comes to the White House, because Homelander ends up doing like a successful mutant rebellion against the U.S. government. Butcher comes into the White House, into the Oval Office, where Homelander is just hanging out, and Homelander throws in the vice president's head, and Butcher catches it, and he sees a hole in the head, and he's like, "I'm sure I know what you're doing with this," and he tosses it aside. Yeah, that happens. And they start talking, and then Black Noir comes, and then Black Noir takes off his mask, and he's like, "Wait a second, that's Homelander." And it turns out that Black Noir is actually a clone of Homelander, and that Black Noir was cloned by Vaughn to be basically a failsafe in case Homelander basically went insane and whatnot. But no, Homelander stayed a good boy in his Homelander way. He was kept on a leash by Vaughn, which made Black Noir's purpose to be obsolete. And, Black Noir was made to kill Homelander in case he would, go rogue. So this made Black Noir go fucking crazy. He's like, my purpose was to kill him. So Black Noir decides to basically frame Homelander by committing all these horrific crimes, by raping Butcher's wife, by eating babies and killing all these other people to basically make Homelander break and whatnot. And Black Noir and Homelander, they fight in the comic. Black Noir like punches Homelander in the face, and his fucking jaw just comes like flying off to the side because he punches him so hard that his jaw flies off, and Homelander gets killed by Black Noir and whatnot, and then Black Noir comes out, and he's like basically just all like his like organs are
right.
Yeah, his organs are showing.
What do you want from me?
Yeah, his organs are showing and everything. His like an eye's out of his sockets, and then Butcher comes up to him and gets like a crowbar and like pretty much puts the bar inside his eye socket and just cracks his skull open and just like takes a piece of his brain out, and then I think he ends up like smashing his head.
They put the graphic novel to be sure.
Oh yeah, so
what else are you going to do? You have to get the crowbar, and come on, like I get it. I get it, man.
So the Boys comic is much more like it's a fucking edge fest. It's much more edgier than the show, but the comic is more.
It's edgier than you're describing it.
No, he was describing the comic, which is edgier than the show on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Oh, because I'm into it, man.
Yeah. You could say that the comic is just a fucking edge fest. It was really just to be edgy because the author of the series, he just hated superheroes. So he's like I'm going to make the series out of spite and whatnot and all that. And then, the people that created the Boys decided to, they're like, oh, there's some interesting stuff here, but we're going to do very edgy things if it's serving for the plot to move forward, not just be edgy.
I think they did a good job of showing that people had these powers. It wouldn't keep them from being flawed because people are flawed.
Yeah.
And the more power they have, the more they could just go with their flaws. So it's compelling to me because when I was a kid, I wanted to be Superman. I thought that was like, oh my God, like to have all this power and to just want to like help people and save people. Like this is like a paragon of virtue. And the Boys literally goes in the exact opposite direction. And no, if people had these powers, they would not really use them to
Right.
For good. Yeah.
for the betterment of their fellow man, they would just
Right.
do what they want to do because there's no repercussions because there
Yeah.
can't be. And I do like in that series how so much of it is about, they have Homelander can fly. He's basically, if you haven't seen the show, he's basically Superman, but he's not nice. He's a
Right.
dick.
Right.
And
He's a psychopath.
yeah, but he's still under the umbrella of it's about your numbers, like it's about your
Yeah.
ratings. He's owned by this corporation, and that's kind of where it starts because
Yeah.
for a guy that can fly and bend steel and shoot lasers out of his eyes, he still has to listen to these suits at this company that
Yeah.
like made him, but also traumatized him with experiments. So it's fun to see it the exact opposite of like the Marvel movies where there's a hero, there's a villain, the hero's good, the villain's bad, and
Yeah.
it's black and white. In this show, it's more how life is. There's no heroes, there's no villains. It's everybody has some of both in them.
Yeah. People are
I totally get
predisposed
that.
to doing both good and bad.
Right.
Well, yes, Jason and I always say no one is always good and no one is always bad. They're always
It's just a matter of percentages.
the only thing I have, and I don't want to get into it. I really don't, because it'll bring us in a 3-hour conversation. But when you said it's extreme, like they try to be extreme, I agree with you, Vaughn. Like, come on, like in that like that show, we had it recently, Jason. I was like, all right, like you don't have to do shock factor just like to shock people. Like, it's already shocking enough where you have this guy that's supposed to be Superman, but the morals of Superman are gone. Like none. Yeah. That's shocking enough. Maybe it's because my generation that Superman was like great. Like I was not the original Superman. What was his name? The guy that died.
Christopher Reeve.
Thank you. He was my Superman. So I compared that one to this one. So to me, it's already shocking. And so when you go through this show and it's like, oh my God, he just ripped this person in half. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Even Christopher Reeves with no morals would never be that bad. So it's
no, all he did was get some strange.
You don't need the other bullshit to make you go, you know what I mean? Or whatever. It doesn't matter. That's my thing.
Oh yeah. I know, and I know a friend of mine told me in the Boys comics, because he's read the comics and whatnot. He actually enjoys the comics, even though there's people that don't like the comics and prefer the show over the comics. But there's a thing in the Boys comics. I don't know if it's a thing in the show, but I know in the Boys comics, because of how the superheroes are built, because they're mutants and whatnot, and they don't know their strength. Like, a lot of them want to, they want to, kick off some steam, so they'll, sleep with prostitutes and whatnot. Well, because they don't know their own strength and whatnot, they'll like kill like normal people if they like kind of, have sex with them. So that's why in the comics they have mutant prostitutes, so they can like kind of take the sex and whatnot and take the, the pound town.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. I understand, because it's a comic book, and then you have to make a series about it. It has to be intriguing. It has to keep people involved. Can I take us away from this subject for a minute?
Sure, that's fine. I don't care.
So, we've been talking a lot about acting, and like I want to talk about comedy for a second with you.
Sure, yeah, we haven't really talked that much about it.
That's what I want to talk about.
Sure.
You have a very unique way of comedy, and I feel like you're, maybe I'm wrong. These are my interpretations, right? You're secure. You secure with it, right? Like you're gonna stick with it. I'm gonna double down, right?
Yeah.
It's a very unique way of comedy.
Yeah.
It really is, and I'm very curious as to, one, when is the first time you realize like, oh, I want to do this And what was your first joke? If you recall. If you recall. Like,
Yeah,
when
sure.
Yeah.
So I would say, I mean, before I started watching stand up and whatnot, I really enjoyed like a lot of adult animated shows like Family Guy, The Simpsons, King of the Hill, and
Yeah.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Squidbillies
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's my kind of first taste of comedy, even though I didn't really get all the jokes, because I really started watching a lot of that stuff when I was either fourth or fifth grade. So yeah, I wouldn't really get a lot of the stuff, but I was, intrigued because
Our children too. We
How
raised them on Family
just
Guy.
just
Yeah.
I just so we know, like, Vaughn, how old are you today right now?
26.
Okay. I thought you were younger than that, so I'm glad I asked.
I look younger, so
Yeah, it's hey, that's a blessing, my friend.
yeah.
You thought he was younger?
I thought he was younger than 26. I thought he was 23. I knew he was over
3 years ago.
Yeah, I thought he was 23. I knew he was over 21. I didn't think he was 26.
It's not an insult. I thought he was a little older because his demeanor is very calm and like reserved and like, yeah, it's cool. Go ahead.
But
Well, it's just because he doesn't like you. Like, around, when you're not around, me and him, like, yeah, it's totally different demeanor.
Strip clubs. You guys are heading to everything.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, Vaughn, go ahead.
Yeah, I started watching that stuff because it's like, oh, these are cartoons, but they're not made for kids, so you get you get intrigued by that, even though you don't really understand everything that they're talking about,
right,
and what have you. So I started watching that. That was like late 2000s. That had to be. I started watching that stuff like 2008, 2009.
I'm sorry. How old were you then? I'm so sorry. How old were you?
2007. Like 9-10 years old.
Okay, that makes sense. Go ahead.
So yeah, it was late 2000s. I was like 9-10 years old. Particularly because I started hanging out with this one friend of mine, Dalton. He is 3 years younger than me, but he was allowed to watch that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And through that, I just started watching it, and it was like, ooh, what is this? And whatnot. So I started watching it through there. And then I would say 7th grade, I started watching because I remember because I'm autistic and whatnot, so I was in IEP classes. So I had this one IEP class in which I had this one girl that I know who's my one friend's stepsister and whatnot. She came in to one of the classes, and I don't know, I was just hanging around with her, and she was on the desktop on YouTube essentially. And this is pretty much the golden age of YouTube at this time. This is 2011, I would say 2010, something like that. So essentially, she was on the desktop on YouTube, and this used to be a thing. It's not much of a thing anymore. It was a trend back then. On YouTube, they used to do these animes, but they would have a stand-up comedy dub over animes over their voice lines. And one of them was a routine by Dane Cook. And I quite enjoyed it. So through that, I started watching some Dane Cook.
Yeah, could you go ahead? Sorry.
And then after Dane, I started watching Gabriel Iglesias, and then after him was Jeff Dunham, and then oh yeah,
and this was around 10.
Oh, this was I was in 7th, 8th grade.
Okay, so like 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
So were you trying at that age to make people laugh?
I tried writing some stuff down. Some of it was just stuff I liked from other comedians. So I just wrote their stuff down, and so yeah, I did that, and I also wanted to be in a talent show, and like try out some jokes, which I would eventually do, just not at this time. And this was 8th grade, and I didn't get into the talent show because I only told the teacher that was in charge of that like one joke, and then I'm like, oh, the rest I wanna save for the talent show. But that's not how that worked.
Fine.
So
I love that. I love that. So, when did you decide to say F it? Because I'm trying to swear too much on this channel.
it's fine.
And say, you know what? I'm going to go to open mic. Do you recall like?
First time I did comedy was on my 19th birthday for my talent show tryouts for senior year of high school. So this was February 21st, 2017. I tried out and got a lot of laughs. Really, only one joke didn't do well, and I was just so nervous that how I went about it was that I went up there, and like before I even went up there, I decided to take the long route to to the stage. So I just ended up, instead of just climbing up on the stage, I went to the stairs on the far left side and went to the door in the back, and I don't know, just to kind of do a build up and whatnot because I was nervous, and then
I love it.
Then I went on stage and I instead of and this was the only time I've ever done this. I've never done it ever since, but I was telling my jokes, but I was like pacing back and forth.
Okay.
Going one side to one side because I was just nervous. I never did this before, so I
yeah, you don't do that now. You're right. You did. Yeah. You literally you stand in one spot and you hold the mic or the stand. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, I was just pacing back and forth while doing that. And that was one like criticism that the judges kind of like that's like the only criticism they gave. Like he was pacing back and forth, but like the only reason why I did that because I was just nervous.
You were in junior high.
Yeah.
Right.
High
school.
school.
You gave a criticism.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know what? Chris Rock has always walked back and forth across the stage as he's been telling his jokes. I don't think
shame on them.
I don't think there's any bad way to carry yourself on stage unless it portrays like a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And then that's going to come across and then people won't respond as they might to your jokes. But I don't think there's any. You can pace back and forth. You can stand in one spot. You can swing the mic around. You can turn your. Well, don't turn back to audience. That's bad. But I was like, you could. There's a lot of. There's any approach as long as you have a feeling of confidence, and that comes across to the audience that what I'm saying is funny. Then they're gonna laugh more than if you're acting like you don't. I'm like, you're wanting it has to get through to them. Like, I want you to laugh.
Yeah.
I need you to laugh. That comes across with your body language, which it needs to. It can't be like, if you think that you're not funny, then it's going to be hard for them to find you funny.
Yeah.
I was just saying that it was a middle school. He was like 11 or 12 years old at a middle school talent show, and they're giving criticism.
Oh no, this was senior year,
high school.
Yeah, this is high school.
Even that's horrible.
Yeah,
like, you're in high school and they're giving criticism. I think it's crazy.
Well,
that's crazy.
Well, how
you know what? Jim Morrison did have his back to the audience for a long time.
He did. Yeah.
Bill Hicks once did that. There's no video of it, but Mark Maron was on Bill Burr's podcast about a decade ago, and he mentioned how it was like up in Boston or something like that, and Bill Hicks just performed in front of an audience with his back turned, and Mark's like, he's like, no booker would ever hire somebody that did that now. Back in the 90s they would, but not now. Yeah. But because essentially how it worked was that there was a tryouts for the talent show, so you had to try out in order to get in, and they had judges to see who would get in and who would not, and I got in, and then for the actual talent show, which was March 31st, 2017, it was the day before April 1st,
Yeah.
and what have you. It was a Friday, of course, being a Friday. And, before I continue this, I had to piss. So I've been holding this piss.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
That's why I've been a little bit antsy here. I would, if you guys were not here, and if I was very lazy, I would just piss in this bottle, which I have done before.
No, you can take a bathroom break. It's totally cool.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
If our podcast was bigger, I would say go for it.
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back. My bathroom's not too far away.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. I do. He's very talented.
Yeah, he is.
He really is. He's very eccentric and unique. He's very talented.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone's watching this, go to his Facebook page.
Vaughn Wesley.
Yes, and just scroll. You'll find his the little short of his acting. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And when he comes back, I'm gonna change the subject a bit, and I want to talk to him about his first joke and going on. You know what I mean? But he's very talented, very unique, and
I am back.
To be embraced, right?
Yeah.
All right, Vaughn. All right, I want to do a speed round questions. They're real easy.
Sure.
Is it Xbox or PlayStation for you?
Xbox.
Is it iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Is it steak or chicken?
That's a tough one. It depends. I mean, I do like steak. It depends upon the chicken. I mean, if it's fried, then I would prefer chicken.
You gotta pick one. Vaughn, you gotta pick one. Come on.
All right, chicken.
Nope.
He goes with chicken.
One. Chicken. Okay, sorry, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Would you rather drive somewhere or get driven somewhere?
Drive somewhere.
Okay. Is it better to be in the big city or to live in the suburbs?
I guess the suburbs, because you won't get robbed.
Okay, that's cool.
Do you like your food hot or spicy?
Hot.
Like it. That's cool. Man, I love it. You're.
Are you when you go up there and perform and you have a good set, do you think I'm happy with that, or do you internally criticize yourself and think I should have done this, that, and other better?
Sometimes. There's sometimes which I've forgotten to tell a joke. I'm like, I could have forgot to do this one joke, but there's always next time.
Yeah. I'm personally really bad for that. I have a hard time being happy. Well, if I fail, I can't even handle it. I get extremely upset. But even if I succeed, it's like I don't think, oh, good, I won. I think I could have done this better. I could have done it better. I criticize myself to myself. Like, no one is telling me anything negative, but I do to myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's for my own betterment or not. I don't know if I'm helping myself by doing that or if I'm sabotaging myself. But sometimes I wonder if everyone does that is trying in life and trying to achieve stuff. So I was curious to how you went about it?
I mean, I've been frustrated with things and whatnot. I'm like, they didn't. This audience didn't like this or that, or
Yeah.
they didn't appreciate me tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go through that and whatnot. Like I was at LVT Wednesday, and it wasn't really much of a good reaction from the crowd.
Yeah.
And it was, mostly stuff I've done before. I mean, there was like one newer joke in there. It was like my fourth time doing it. I might have to like rework that one or something, but yeah, you get that.
Yeah.
Hey Vaughn, do you remember the first joke? Do you remember the first joke you came up with, or like an idea, or like maybe whatever the first whatever the
Okay.
joke,
Just to give him time to think.
right.
I tried comedy like twice. I was a
Yeah.
drug addict at the time, and like I had never done comedy, and it was like this little side room at a pizza place, and there was like 8 people there or whatever.
Yeah.
But the only joke I got a laugh the first time I tried it was, my dad was going to be here to support me, but he's busy being a bad parent. And the host laughed, and no one else did, and that was the only laugh I got. After that, I proceeded to not remember any of my other jokes. But they were supportive. They were like, "It's okay, take your time." This was like 8 people, so they don't want me to fail, and they're also all their stand-ups, so they're like, they want to see me do good. But that was the only laugh I got, and it's a weird, like, that humor's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But
that's hilarious. No, I get it. I get it.
That's kind of funny you mentioned that you used to be a drug addict, because before I got to know you guys at all, I was always thinking in my mind, like, oh, those 2 tweakers over there. Yeah, so I guess you guys just have that tweaker look to you.
Which is the funny thing is that we were, our drug of choice was opioids and Percocet, Vicodin, heroin, fentanyl. So
seriously,
really the opposite of a tweaker on the spectrum.
That's so funny.
But maybe we just came across a little high energy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it was.
Well, also, Jason, you're very skinny, so that's kind of.
I am. I always have been. I
think it comes from like, okay, like, oh, that's so cute. I love that you fucking said that. I never get when you guys met me and Jason together, we were very touchy and handsy and kissy and right. I get it. We had just gotten we'd been together for 23 years. We broke up for you know what I'm saying, for like 6 months. We got back together. We're all like, ooh, right?
Yeah.
But we stopped. We had used drugs for many years together.
Yeah.
Like many years. So we were like, at that time, we were like, no, we're not on drugs. Like, it's just great. Like, it's hilarious. But I knew, and you know what? It kind of brings me into like, you put a post on Facebook today about like, not like fitting in or whatever. You know, and we talked to Cole C. Do you recall who he is? Like,
I know Cole C. It's been a minute since I've seen him, because I haven't been to Funny Stop in a while.
Yeah.
And also the competition, well, semifinals, I think the last semifinals just happened this past Wednesday, and I think the finals are coming up this Wednesday, so I couldn't really, before.
Right, me as well. I called and they're like, "It's a quarterfinals. You can't be on the list." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool. I get it."
But it's been a minute since I've been to Funny Stuff. I think last time I was there, it was in late May. I won the competition there a while back, so I don't really have to do it. The mic and whatnot.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but we understood, like, people didn't get to us because we were like, whatever, we're touchy-feely. I get it.
Yeah.
But you had Jason, do you remember you told Jason, like, oh, we think like when you laugh, you're mocking us. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was so happy that, like, seriously, we were both happy that you said that, because it was like, oh, that's not what no, he wasn't doing that at all.
Well, listen, Kerri.
It's very clicky, right?
They always liked you because you laugh and you have a good laugh. I don't think they necessarily cared for me, some of them, because they're like, who's this guy? Comes out of nowhere, and all that. And then, but I would never try to mock a comedian by laughing at them, because as a comedian, I know if you really don't want to support a comedian, you just don't laugh. Like, so making a weird laugh is not like, I don't know. I support anybody pursuing their dreams, and especially another comedian. I want to go on stage and make people laugh and bring people happiness. That's amazing. That's like one of the best things you can do with your life is to bring people happiness. So I would never look down on anyone that does it.
Never.
But I also, it's for me, it was a little weird. Like, why would you think I would do a weird laugh to like try to like throw you off or like mock you? Like, I don't know. Other people don't know people they don't know, so they may misinterpret things, but it's not how I'm wired.
I feel it goes back to that whole, like, whatever, like they see us a certain way and we came in there a certain way. I get it, Jay. I do. I get it, Vaughn, too. I get it. We were all, I get it. But you were the only one who had the courage to say,
true.
Hey, we think you're mocking us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't understand, like, why don't they like us? We couldn't get it. Like, so you're the only one who had courage. I'll shut up. I know they made fun of him. I'll shut up. But anyway, thank you very much.
Oh, of course.
Seriously, like, we were just being ourselves. And you were just being yourself, telling us, like, hey, we think that was never the case. Ever.
No, I know. I forgot all about that until you were.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, but it stuck with us because we were like, oh my gosh, we're not those people. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, I was just thinking in my mind back then. I was like, oh, well, particularly Jason. Like, whenever he would laugh, it just sounded like it was more like a sarcastic laugh and whatnot. Then just because Jason is skinny and well, Kerri, you're pretty thin as well. I'm like, these are.
You.
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much.
I was kind of thinking in my mind, like, these are kind of weird tweakers.
Well, we are weird. We're just not tweakers.
Yeah.
We are weird. Yes. Oh my God, it's very sweet.
Yeah.
But you were the only one that had the balls enough to come up to him and say, hey, we feel this way. I think it's awesome. I really do, because one time I won't mention it, but I love that. I'll shut up.
No, that's cool.
No,
hey,
it's cool.
Hey, Vaughn, me and Kerri have really enjoyed you coming on our show with us. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you doing this.
Of course. You can have me another time if you want. I don't care.
Absolutely.
I would love that.
You're a talented, kind person, and sometimes people overlook people being kind.
Yeah.
I think that people choose to be kind or to be assholes. And you choose to be kind, as do I. And so I identify with you because you can be an asshole. Everybody knows how, but when you choose not to, it shows a lot about your character to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're very special, and you're very unique. And I just have
appreciate it.
One last question. Ready? Nacho cheese or Cool Ranch?
Nacho cheese.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, come on again. Tell people like
Promote yourself.
Yeah, promote yourself, man. Like
Yeah.
even if, whatever, even do it. Do whatever you want.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. It's under my original family last name, which is Weslowski. So,
Yes.
like legally it's Wesley, but the family last name is Weslowski. So I just have it underneath there. So you can just find me there, and Instagram I'm on Vaughn Weslowski on there. Because
Spell
Thank you.
Weslowski so they know how to type it in their phone.
Exactly.
well, it's pretty easy. I'm like really one of the very few on there. But it's Weloski. I don't usually I usually don't have my because I'm always used to my legal last name, so sorry
Yeah.
if I spelled something there. But I think that's pretty much it. It is Weloski, I believe.
Okay.
But
And
yeah,
look,
even if you just put Vaughn VAUGHNWES, it'll come up.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like once you see the Polish last name on there, the SKI, I'm like that's me.
So what we're saying is the casting directors in LA only
right.
have to type in Vaughn space WES on Instagram and Facebook, and they will get your stellar performances.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, okay, good.
Yeah.
It's
And
settled.
right, and if you can't find that, he is. We are friends on Facebook. Go
Yeah.
to my friends, and you can find them. Do you have any Instagram or anything other than that?
Well, I did mention I have Instagram.
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram are pretty much hooked up now, I guess.
Oh,
Right.
you're right.
I think they're
Yeah.
owned by the same company or something like that.
Yeah.
Meta
you're
or
right.
whatever it is.
Meta, yeah.
I'm old.
not-
The reason we were late is because my youngest son had to teach me how to do Snapchat. Sorry, that's why. So I don't get it. But go ahead.
I've tried Snapchat. I don't like it because you can't really keep your photos on there. They end up going away after a day.
Yeah.
Which is why I really prefer like Facebook and Instagram, and I'm on Twitter as well. But
Under what? Under what?
Oh, it's what is it? I just
Vaughn space WES, you'll find it.
Yeah, I think it might be like VAU Wesley or something like that.
Okay.
I also have a YouTube, which is just Vaughn Wesley on it.
Okay.
Well, you know what? People are going to find you. Like I said, I'm friends with them. Jason, you're friends with them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on.
We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come talk with us. It was fun.
Oh, this is my favorite episode. Sorry to the other 7. This is my favorite episode, man.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
No, I mean it. And we're going to have you on another time soon. Seriously.
Oh, sweet. I appreciate it. Yeah. What was it? I ended up forgetting for a moment that I was doing this at like 8 something. Because I was thinking, because luckily Jason texted me. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to do that. And luckily Jason, you text me there about it. I'm like, oh yeah, because I was planning on basically after eating dinner, I was just going to go outside and listen to a album by Sepultura and
nice.
Sepultura?
Yeah.
Heavy metal.
Yeah, Roots.
Of course I know them, Jason. That's when I went to New York with Biohazard and Sepultura and Pantera. That's a whole new story for the next episode.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I hung out with all of them for a weekend.
She did.
And too bad Sepultura has no more original members anymore.
Well.
It's the Cavalier brothers are no longer part of them, and Andreas Kisser is no longer part, and what have you. It's all different people.
Wow.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well, at least you have Soulfly.
To them, I was paying attention to other shit, but I would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Favorite episode. Seriously. Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Of
you,
course.
Vaughn.
I'm happy to be here. I like doing podcasts. Last one I
It's fun.
did was last one I did was Jeremy Demery's podcast. That
So
was
how do you reach that one so people can see you?
oh, I forget what that podcast's name is because there's people that have so many podcasts.
Yeah.
True.
Kind of hard to keep track of, but
Yeah.
I did his podcast. It was fun. It was at his little studio at his workplace. It was
cool.
It was a Tuesday in August of last year. It was a good time. I enjoyed myself.
Sweet.
Good.
Thank you so much. And you're gonna be on I want to talk to you again.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And I hope to see you soon at the comedy clubs, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll be back to Funny Stop here soon.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, it was
You're
a
very
Funny Farm.
talented. You're very talented, and I hope you do.
Yeah, I was doing Funny Farm for quite a while because they have an open mic now on Wednesdays, but the time keeps on changing because originally it was the time was well, the first time they did the open mic, it was a trial run. It was just seeing how it was going to go. So the open mic was just 7 o'clock to whatever. And then the second time it was essentially it was because how they would do over there it was the competition, then the open mic. The open mic would start at 8:30. And now the open mic starts at 7. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Dave Robich is not as organized as Funny Stop. Funny Stop
Okay.
is organized.
exactly. So on Wednesdays we'll be there.
Yeah.
And you have our
All right.
contact. Seriously,
Hey,
thank you so
thanks
much, man. This
everyone
was
for
great.
tuning in. Vaughn, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. Favorite
All right.
episode.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody have a good night.
You
Bye,
too.
babe.
Bye.